Let's get on with it, shall we? I welcome you here on this Halloween Eve. All Hallows. Well, it's not actually Eve of All Hallows, that's tomorrow night, but it's the eve of All Hallows. See, here at Creative Life, we add an extra day on the many holidays. If you come back in November, the end of November, we'll have Thanksgiving Eve. We'll have a Thanksgiving Eve celebration. No one, to my knowledge, on earth, besides Creative Life, celebrates Thanksgiving Eve. We just can't get enough of these things. When we study the religions of the world, one of the things we like to do is cop onto all of their feast days. They also have fast days, a great many of them, where there's a time for deep reflection, possibly repentance. We tend to overlook that and we go to the feast days, which is a time of celebration and of course food. So there's nothing really wrong with this, it's just sort of our style. But I wanted to tell you a few words tonight about Halloween because as much as I love baseball, I love Halloween more. And this teaching, and the Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, Dia de los Muertos, which is coming up on Friday and into Saturday, that is a Mexican holiday, and it started principally in the south of Mexico, and then it spread throughout the country, and now it's celebrated in lots of countries in Central and South America, and of course in America, and a few European countries, and also New Zealand. New Zealand likes the Day of the Dead, and so they get behind it too. And when it was first celebrated by the descendants of the Mayan people, the indigenous people of Mexico, some of whom were Aztec in and around Mexico, what is now Mexico City, they celebrated it in the summer. Then later they moved it to November, the start of November. Do you know why? Because the Spanish showed up. Cortez and other explorers and conquerors appeared and brought with them a Spanish sensibility, and the date changed. Why would they change the date of the Day of the Dead? Because in Spain it had been celebrated around the 1st of November, around the time of Samhain. And why was that? Because the Spanish people were Celts. They were Celtic. And so it's the Celtic New Year, and the Celtic people lived all over Northern Europe and stuff. And so stuff that you see that's related to Halloween and the Day of the Dead, the timing of it, and a lot of the celebrations of it actually originated with the Celts. Their belief was, and every different group of people has some kind of afterlife legend, afterlife story, or the fancy word for it is an eschatology. You have an I've been actually asked by people, this is not a question you expect from newcomers at Creative Life. What is your eschatology? And I felt like they were kind of fencing with me, let's see if you can answer that. And I think I did all right because I knew what they were talking about. And I didn't just, well, I don't know, let me go look go ask David or Lisa. So I knew what they were talking about, and I was able to say, and if it interests you, and we've talked about this before, our eschatology is that we live on forever in an upward spiral. When we leave this earth, we go on forever. That's our afterlife legend, our afterlife story. But there are many, and one that Natalie stands for in her work, Natalie, who was here Sunday, and her coven, is the idea of a place called Summerland. Summerland. And Summerland, you know who else wrote about it besides pagan or Wiccan? Yates for one, but C.S. Lewis in the end of the Narnia stories, and this is a spoiler alert if you haven't read the Narnia stories. At the very end, they write it's these kids who are coming and going into this other world where time is different and so on. And then they age out of it, some of them. It's set during the Second World War, and they've been evacuated from London because of the bombing. but they age out of going to this world. Various of them. And then there's a cousin or a nephew or somebody, Edmund, that comes along, and he goes through these 7 books. But at the end of the 7, for reasons that I won't go into in case you haven't read this and would like to, and really should, it's classic stuff. At the end of the 7, they suddenly realize they're all there again in this magical kingdom that some of them had been told you cannot return. You're too old now, you're grown up. It's really a place only for the childlike mind. Well, at the end of the last book, here they are again. Why? Well, because they've passed over. They have gone on. And that this is the Summerland. What happens in the Summerland? Well, it's happy all the time. And it's hence the name. It's summer all the time. And all your friends are there. And animals that you've loved. And everything is possible to you. And it's a beautiful, wonderful idea. It's, who knows for sure, but it's a marvelous legend. So these are the kinds of stories you see that get told around, especially this time of year. What's unfortunate is that in the Western world, a lot of this has turned ghoulish, and weird. And I shared with you on Sunday this story about this place where, in order to take advantage of their offering, they have a 10-hour event. This place in Tennessee has a 10-hour event that you can take advantage of on Halloween. And in order to do this, you have to have a sports physical, a background check, a drug test, a personal interview, watch a 2-hour video, and fill out a 40-page waiver. You know what it is? A haunted house. It's the scariest haunted house in America. And you have to go through all of this. They have to make sure that you're not going to drop dead of a heart attack in this thing or haul off and punch one of the actors, because it is that intense. And I thought that's kind of funny, and it's also kind of about how we seek to feel something so desperately that this is what we'll do, and have it created for us, outside, like walk through a situation that other people have decided how we're going to feel and what they're going to do. And how great would it be if we could harness that power ourselves and decide, I'm going to create a 10-hour adventure or a lifetime's adventure for myself that's nurturing and kindly and sweet and fun and not dull. It'll have maybe even a little risk, maybe even a little danger, And by what kind of danger? Well, the danger Georgie faces every time she picks up a musical instrument, says, hey, I'm going to perform. Kind of danger any performer faces, right? That's risk. That's, you're in the show too. That's huge. You say, yeah, I sing, I act, I dance. Great, now you get to. That's a positive kind of feeling, stimulation. Well, at this time, it feels like the veil is thin between the worlds. What I want to suggest to you is that veil does not simply exist between the worlds of the living and the dead, as we know them to be, but it's the veil between where you are tonight and where you want to be tomorrow. What you want to create in your life. And there will be some darkness to it, and there will be some mystery to it, and there will be some adventure. And by darkness, I mean this. I saw this great quote by Plato. I didn't know he'd said this. He said, we may forgive and certainly will forgive the child who is afraid of the dark. But the real tragedy of life is the man who is afraid of the light. And I was like, whoa, I had to write that down. Lisa's writing it down right now. So I wrote it down and I wanted to come share it with you. Because darkness and light, you see, they're metaphors. And neither one of them is better than the other. We shouldn't be afraid of the light, but we don't have to be afraid of the dark either. You know what the darkness is good for? You can see the stars. If we had a beautiful sunlit vista the whole time, we wouldn't see the moon and we wouldn't see the stars. And those are pecans, by the way, falling on the roof. You can gather them outside if you like. They're delicious. Jung talks about the shadow. I've been writing about the shadow lately. I disagree with how it's often pictured in the world. The shadow is not this evil, gnarly part of you, the kind of Jekyll and Hyde sort of thing that, given the right circumstances would jump out and do evil. The shadow of you is the part of you that's not out in front right now. You see, you have a goal, you have an intention, a set of these things, you have a way of being in the world, and then you have all the ways that you're not being in the world. And all the ways right now that you're not being in the world, they're kind of on the back burner. And the back burner is the shadow. It's the dark side of the moon. Does this make sense? You see? You're just not doing that right now. Oh, you could. Like they say, archetypes, right? Take, for example, the warrior. You have a warrior in you. You don't need it tonight. You're here with us. We're having a lovely, peaceful time. You're not going to have to stand up for your rights tonight. You're not going to have to be all combative and stuff. But there may be a time, and there has been a time, when you do need that. When you do have to stand your ground and speak in your, use your voice and so forth. Okay? That's just one example. The magician is another archetype that when you use it, it's out in front of you, and you're doing amazing things in a kind of not a physically unexplainable way. Let's say you're working miracles. We were talking about, we just started a new class tonight on Emma Hopkins, and we were talking, you should join us if you can. We were talking about Jesus' statement, or Paul's statement, that the mind that was in Christ Jesus is the mind that we use, or let us be of the mind that was in Christ Jesus. And the question came up about working miracles and so on. Well, there's two ways to work a practical miracle, like, say, feeding a multitude of people. One way is the way I had it explained to me when I was a kid, which was on this hillside in ancient Palestine. All of a sudden, there were tables of fish, and tables of bread, and many came. They said 5,000, though it doesn't say in the Bible, it just says multitudes came. And that was how it was pictured to me. And they kept going like, isn't that amazing that this Jesus guy could do this, that he saw these hungry people and just, there's all of this food. That's how it was explained to me. There's another way that happens. And that is, you call up the local food bank and you say, hello, we'd like to help, and you get together and they bring an 18-wheeler, and you get a bunch of people out there and you hand out food to people and you feed the multitude. Theoretically, we could do 5,000. We do about 200 at a whack, but it's just a matter of how many trucks you want to bring. You see what I'm getting at here? You know what? They're both magic. They're both manifestations. They're both miracles. But one of them has kind of a pragmatic side to it. Just involves some phone calls and emails and that kind of thing. It seems pretty boilerplate. So I don't need my magician right now to steer that circumstance, because it's easier done. But what if I needed something that nobody had? What if I needed something that existed on the other side of the world and had no way to get it? Then it's time. And from that compartmentalized side of myself where I've kept my magic in abeyance, now it comes forward and it begins to work. The same with the priest. The priest is another archetypal figure, okay? Warrior, priest, magician. I forget the fourth one, lawyer or something like that. No, not really, no. But you get the idea. There, whatever you're not being right now, whatever you're not needing to be right now, those are pecans, it's cool. You're capable of being when the right time comes. That is your shadow. The shadow lets you know that it's there from time to time, so that you don't forget about it altogether. And when it does, it can freak you out. It's never occurred to me to, sure it has, because it's there, it's been there the whole time. You remember when you were a little kid, you played games where you role played, you took on roles that were, Well, like when I was a little kid, one of the things, because what was happening at the time informed this, we were astronauts. You'd get I don't know, a goldfish bowl or something, put it over your head, and suddenly you're an astronaut. Superman was another thing. You put a dish towel around your neck, get a box fan, lay across a card table like he did. I mean, silly stuff, but it was ancient times. What can I tell you? We didn't have virtual reality and all that sort of thing. Well, all of those different heroic roles that were played are still contained in consciousness somewhere. And they've matured right along with you. They have developed, right? The warrior, the martial artist, and so on. There's a training that's been going on kind of in the dark while you've been focusing on other things so that you will be ready when the time comes to do that which is needed. And Emma Hopkins makes the point that whatever crosses your path, you're equipped for. You're equipped for. The famous statement of hers that's the bane of the existence of a lot of metaphysical ministers and practitioners is when she was asked, is there anyone I can't help? Is there anyone I can't heal? Is there anyone I can't do anything for? Her answer was, if there is, they won't come to you. And that is so excellent. Because, of course, what it means is, if they do come to you, then you've got something for them. It may not be what they think they need. It may not be what you think they need. But you've got something for them. We have something for the world. Only it might be on the back burner tonight. You don't have to take it off the back burner and put it on the front burner because there's only so much room on the front burner and you got other stuff cooking. You see what I'm saying? It's about awareness. It's about awareness. On Halloween night, tomorrow, but tonight would work just as well. The wind's blowing and it's mysterious. The clouds are scudding across the sky. There's a feeling of real mystery and magic and stuff. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful. But you may not want that all the time. Tomorrow you want the sun to come up because you got a lawn to mow or, some business to transact out under the sun. So that's why these things come in waves. They come in cycles. It's why we have these cycles of seasons. And I get such a kick out of this. When Joe was here on Sunday, he's a scientist, and he's doing something pretty amazing. He's retired as a chemist, but there's a multinational effort, I forget the name, to clean up the plastics in the oceans, in the world's oceans. And he is the scientific leader of that. He has been called out of retirement to do that for this amazing thing. And what he's pointing out scientifically sometimes is fascinating. Either I didn't know it, or nobody knew it in the room, or we'd forgotten about it. But I think of the day when an asteroid hit the Earth a gazillion years ago, so hard, possibly even a small planet, hit it so hard it knocked it cattywampus on its axis, which is what gives us seasons. But that day, had you been around, had I been around, we would have called it an outrage. Right? What are you doing? Oh no, look, we had it perfectly positioned. Yeah, half of it was frozen and the other half was boiling, but we had it perfectly positioned just the way we wanted, and now this happened, you see? And this is indicative of how life often occurs. Sometimes your good is handed to you in an easy, gentle, positive way. Here you go, here's the next step, And sometimes you get hit by an asteroid or a meteor or a small planet, and you get knocked off course, and that's actually a blessing. That's actually a great thing. Then I saw this thing the other day. It was on the BuzzFeed, and it says stuff that's a different size than you thought it was out in the world. And they had like a traffic light with the three, and it was taller than a human. The thing, but of course it doesn't look that way when it's hanging up over the street. It's kind of massive. And they had things like that, different animals and things that you didn't realize. God, I didn't realize how big a moose was. I guess I've never seen a full-grown moose. And thing is enormous, man. It's the size of an elephant, these massive antlers, you know. But the one that really blew me away was they had the planet Pluto is the size of Australia. That's all how big it is. It's just this little bitty thing. And how we were able to find it out there and navigate toward it with the unmanned vehicle, you know, and circle it and take pictures of it. How all of that happened just boggles the mind. How do you even find the thing, this needle in a haystack, this little bitty planet way out in space? Well, that's the science of the thing, but back of the science, there's the metaphysics. Back of the physics, the metaphysics. Back of the science, the metascience. And there's something about this time of year, and there's something about a moment like this that just causes us to be open to the mystery. And I never want to lose that for me, and I never want you to lose that for you. No matter how certain you get about things in your life, always realize there's more that could be, that is of a mysterious and compelling nature. There's always a mystery. So much is unexplored. They keep saying at different times in human history, well, now we've been to the tops of the mountains and we've been to the bottom of the ocean, which actually they haven't, because it's too deep, you can't get down there. The pressure's too great, you know, but we've been out in space and we've said, what is the last frontier? Remember Star Trek Space, the final frontier, and how long ago was that? No, the final frontier is the beholding consciousness. And it's infinite. It is infinite. It goes on forever and ever and ever. And let me see if I had anything else I wanted to mention to you tonight. Okay, yeah, one last line, because this is good. I just put this in an article. It's a quote by Joseph Campbell, talking about light and dark. Briefly, because this is a whole night unto itself. The hero's journey. You cross a threshold into basically like a cave. You come out of ordinary reality, there's a knock on the door of your home, and you're summoned, and you resist, but you give in, and you go. And you're led by a mentor to a threshold, and you pass into an opening of like a cave or system of caves or tunnels or something, where it's dark. You go far enough in where whatever light was coming in the entrance is behind you far enough that you're now in total pitch black darkness. And also, oh yeah, your mentor has disappeared. That's part of the journey. They'll come back later, but we'll get to that another time. Well, then what happens is you stumble. You may fall, you may not, but you stumble over something because it's in the dark. That's part of the process. And you have the reaction to the stumbling that you would normally have. You're annoyed, you're mad, ow. Maybe it barked your shin or maybe it didn't, but nobody enjoys the experience of stumbling. It's a loss of control. Plus you're in the dark, you don't know what you might fall into or against. Okay, a metaphor again of life. Joseph Campbell says, where you stumble, there is your treasure. Where you stumble, there is your treasure. Where you stumble in life, where you forget yourself, where you get scared, where you feel like you don't have what it takes, where you have some sort of a breakdown in just confidence, forging ahead, there is your treasure, there is your learning, there is your gift, there is your moment. We have a couple of people in particular in our center right now who are physically ailing and laid up. And speaking with both of them, they're having that kind of experience. It's just I'm not going to quote Joseph Campbell to them right now. We'll wait on that. You know, it's a little in your face, but they're having an experience of like, oh, so what am I doing? You know, how what do I want? How am I having it? What have I given permission to? There's a gift. There's a gift. And I know that sounds sometimes masochistic. We'll say, oh, you're ill, there's a gift, or you're broke, or you're fired, or dumped, or something. There's a gift there. But there really is. There really is. Because it's there that you suddenly stop and take stock of things and take responsibility for what you've been creating up to that point, and what you want to create going forward. So peering through the veil into the world of what could be is a bracing experience. There's a little bit of loss of control with it. There's a little bit of surrender. You remember when Jim Cantor spoke about surrender a couple of months back? You know, it's a beautiful, powerful thing to trust the universe that much. So I wish you a happy Samhain, a happy Halloween, a happy Astros victory parade. We're pushing the envelope a little there, but anyhow. Also, I wanted to tell you that Rick Hutner, who was scheduled to speak next week, will not be with us this time. He's got a situation in Colorado where he lives that he has to attend to. And so our speaker next Wednesday night will be the one, the only Danielle Mercadal. Yay! The following week, the Reverend David Dewhurst. The week after that, Jeffrey Powell. The week after that, all of us together for that Thanksgiving Eve event that we have invented. So let's know together now, there is one life, one power, one presence. And that one is the great, should I call it the great pumpkin? That one is the great mystery. Out of which all things stream into being. And we may not know why, but we certainly are learning what, and a little bit of how. Tonight I affirm and know for each one of us, a childlike sense of the mystery and wonder of life, that anything is possible, that there are dimensions beyond this one, that there are worlds within worlds, that there's an invisible host all around us, that there are ancient energies of a supportive and affirming nature that we may use, that there are elemental bodies and entities and deities in and through all things everywhere, because we feel their presence. And there's nothing here to harm us. There's nothing here that seeks to limit us or embarrass us in any way. The prankster is on our side. And the humor is gentle and gleeful. And all things are working together for good as we move forward. And if there is a stumbling in the dark, it's over something that we put there and forgot about, or we have hidden our treasure in plain sight. We have hidden our power all across the neighborhood. And now it's time to gather it up for this sweet autumn evening, for this time of mystery and magic and adventure. I am so deeply grateful. And I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done.